Okay. Sound is up now on. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, take two. Well, there's no feedback. Can you hear me now? No? You can? Loud enough? Okay. So you're very welcome, everybody who's just come in. Some people have come in online. Okay, that's all that far, is it? Okay. We'll open this. Sorry. Now. Okay. So we're going to open this only question time. So, apologies. So everybody, you're very welcome to this event. The people here, the people online. This is a public event. If you're okay with that, great. If you don't want to be seen or to have your name seen in the public forum and in the subsequent video, just keep your name and your video off. So just letting people know if you're okay with that. Same with people here. So after the event, all the information will be shown and made publicly available on blogs and things like that. So hopefully everybody's okay with that and we can continue. So I'm going to just, and if people can, if the people who are online, if you can just remain muted until we have the open bits, okay? So I'm going to share a screen now and we're going to go to the actual presentation. New recording as well. Okay. Okay, so it's 7:10. So we're starting now, starting a little bit late. So you're very welcome, everybody, to this evening's talk, Creating Sustainable and Just Cities, the UrbanA Experiment. So my name is Duncan Crowley. I'm part of the UrbanA group. I'm also working in a few other research groups connected with the Universidad Ciencias and the ecology group there and some other things. So there's a few people here today who went on the walk. So any walkers today? There's a few more walkers over there. So we did a little walk from Gulbenkian down here to Alcantara, going from green to the blue, talking about this idea of what is a sustainable and just city. That's the theme that we're going to be exploring now in more detail. So why are we doing this? Because there is no planet B. Sorry, now I'm just trying to move this thing so it stops being in the way. So there is no planet B, and we're in climate breakdown, climate emergency, and we don't have much time to get ourselves out of the mess. Okay, so the structure of this event this evening is we're going to have 5 minutes of Hello Neighbours, then we're going to have about 40 minutes of the UrbanA experiment, and then we're going to have an open discussion between the people here and the people here together as one community, a blended community. So to start off, part one, Hello Neighbours. So this is a little bit of a fun little thing to do, and I'll stop sharing for this. So the people online as well, you're going to, I'm going to try to get this bit okay here for you. Can you do breakout groups of two? So Mario, my co-host team is Mario from HabitaRegen and Tanya from many things. So what I'd ask people to do, and I know it's a bit difficult now with COVID situation, but if people could pair up, so if you talk to the person next to you, into groups of two, and we're just going to spend about 2 minutes speaking to the person beside us. So people online, if you can hear that as well, you're going to be broken into groups of two, and just for about 2 minutes, we'll chat to each other. So if you want to say hello to your neighbour, and we'll all meet back in a few minutes. I'll give you a warning.
One second to the folks online.
Yeah, I'm not getting the. Okay.
So if the participants online want to just open your mic and say hi to each other and say who you are in some kind of order, that would be great because we're not getting the breakout thing happening.
Maybe because it's going to live stream, that stops breakouts.
Maybe.
Okay.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, if you guys want to introduce yourself real quick to each other. We don't have a capability to do breakouts. I think because we're live on YouTube, let's do that. So feel free to say hi. Yeah, Diego, if you want to start. You can say hi and where you're calling from.
I can start then.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hi. I'm an urban planning student in Sweden right now.
Excellent. Okay, great. Yep. If anybody else wants to say hi, I'm Mario Llanes. I work and live here in Lisbon. I'm a PhD student as well.
Sorry, my internet is not good, but I listen the meeting. Okay.
Excellent. Yep. Anybody else wants to say hi? Pedro or...
Hi, I'm Pedro. I'm from Lisbon.
Excellent.
And
Welcome. Welcome.
thank you.
Hi. Oi, Diego. Tudo bem? Nosso amigo do UrbanA do Brasil, né?
Hi, tudo bem? Oh,
So hopefully everybody's got a chance
okay.
to speak.
Sorry for
start
today is my beach day.
Say goodbye to your neighbors.
I live in the beach and at 3 p.m.
Okay, so we're returning.
in Santa Catarina.
Let's see if we get an update from Mario. Just can you tell us how things went on the online world?
Yeah, we just have some brief hellos since we didn't have a breakout,
Okay.
but all good.
How many people do we have?
We have 5 people.
5 people. Okay. So, by the way, this is all an experiment. Okay, as you can probably see. But we're testing things, testing technology, testing how we work together in this blended format. And hopefully, if we get better at it, then we can start learning how to connect better, and with that, making better change. Okay. So that was saying hello to our neighbours. And why bother with this? Because really, community is the key to this change that we're talking about. And little things like this help in breaking the ice, getting to know people. You know, sometimes that's difficult in new groups, and then building on that, actually making real communities that are engaged in groups in their local areas and actually making change and dealing with this crisis that we've got. So, part 2. This is where I talk for a little bit. It's going to be quick. There's going to be many different ideas and a few different themes. It's going to be broken into the urban experiment, leading into sustainable and just cities, leading into blended arenas, pushing the communication limits. So it's not going to get really detailed into all of these things. It's just going to touch on them. And then later, we're going to have time for chat. So if anybody's interested in any of the themes, we can open it up and take it from there. So that sounds good. Okay, so it's now just gone 7:15. So the UrbanA experiment. UrbanA stands for Urban Arenas for Sustainable and Just Cities. Rather than reading into things, I had prepared something, it's still here. So this is a short little minute. Hopefully this will work. Okay, there's no feedback? No. Okay, so this is a little video, just gonna watch 1 minute, and this kind of explains in nice visuals a bit better than me. Okay. You can see the screen, Mario? Okay, so we're going to take it back a little bit, and here we go. So if anybody's been on any of our cocos, you'll know Lucia. So that explains a little bit about this process. I think I need to stop sharing the screen now. I need to share this screen. So it should be back to the PDF. Okay, so that's a bit about UrbanA. 3-year project, European Commission, around Europe. It's got 7 members of the consortium, and it's doing some wonderful things. Basically, in the 3 years, it's got 4 arenas happening in these 4 cities. Rotterdam happened, Barcelona was about to happen, then we got COVID, so suddenly everybody had to go online for 2 days and had their event using this blended format. And then that finished in a nice open public event with some of the Degrowth people as well from Barcelona, talking about city solutions and problems. The next one's going to be in Berlin and then Brussels. This little diagram here is this idea of how we can have physical moments, online moments, and moving that together. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, so the main thing at the moment we're developing with this is a community of practice, or what we call a COP. A community practice is an open network of individuals committed to taking constructive action on urban social inequality and ecological unsustainability in the ambition to create more just and sustainable cities. Big mouthful. So it's got these concentric circles, basically, who's part of this COP? We've got the consortium, the team members, we've got fellows. There are about 25 people from Europe who are participating in projects who come and join us in all these 4 meetings. Then we've got arena participants, people who come to these 4 arenas, and wider now, the people who join us in our community events and other things that's growing. Then the people who are being affected by this. So that's kind of this levels of engagement. Each of the arenas looks at different ideas. This is what it kind of looks like. This is what Rotterdam aimed at. They're doing what we're doing now, or trying to do, this technical side of connecting the real and the virtual together. Now, so the blended arenas, you can see a bit better there. This is the idea, you know. You've got these local events happening. Then you've got this event here. You've got the event here, where it's physical. Then you've the people outside who are tuned in, but they're also participating. Not just watching it as a viewing of this for people over there, but actually as an active participant, because we have the technological tools to enable this, we're just not using them very well yet. So I'll get more into that later. We've also got side events, or what we call Lisbon local arenas. Lisbon had one for 2 days back last November in Livraria, and we tried to kick things off in Marvila as well, but COVID did its thing. So we were looking about how the community practice can help manifest the dream of a sustainable and just Lisbon. So back last November, we had a walking tour through Livraria looking at the gentrification, the evictions that are happening. We brought about 30 people from local groups together to come and discuss these issues. There's Gilles Peñalops. He was facilitating the introduction, just these dynamics, find out who we are, what sort of world we're coming from. Then we've Constanza helping lead things. We also had a graphic artist to represent what went on during the day and what was discovered and what findings we got. We also have our COCOs, our community conversations. Since April, about every 2 weeks, we have online events where we bring people from our community to talk about their projects and then try to connect translocally with other groups. And the people who are tuning in from that is now growing, and we're starting to get, for example, more people from Brazil, even some from China recently. So it's an interesting dynamic. The Berlin Arena, the process of it has already happened. A few months ago, they had a talk about governance, which is the theme. How can we make decisions? How do us citizens, us normal people, participate in the construction of the community and city we want? We had the Lisbon discussion about, is Lisbon a sustainable and just city? We had people from the Fab Lab, from Morar and Lisboa, and Res Chão talking about what was going on. These processes normally have somebody presents what they're doing, and then people in the breakout groups, which didn't work tonight, they get together, they discuss, they harvest, they go into documents, and they put in information, questions, insights, links, and then we all come back together to the room and we have a plenary. We share what we've learned in this more democratic and participative process. After each of these events, we have a blog post. The event is videoed, so you go into blog post, you can see the video of that presentation, you can see the slides, it's all online. We've got videos on YouTube. We've also got a wiki, which is our knowledge commons. And this is the idea of taking this somewhat academic process, but taking the knowledge and not putting it in a little secure place that's not accessible to citizens. No, it's putting it in a place where everybody can see the most up-to-date ideas and participate in the construction of that content. So if anybody wants to get in and put in your projects, you can. For example, now the wiki, this is what the wiki looks like, and now it's got videos embedded within the system. This is the last entry we put in. I'm just going to show you this 1 minute video. Just show you another example of kind of the communities and what they're doing. This was from the launch last week of Communities for Future. Pretty nice stuff. And that's the actual wiki, for example. That's what it looks like. So that will grow as we get into it. We've got podcasts. We're on Spotify if you want to listen. The last one, quite apt for what we're doing now, was about networks and people working in networks and how they're working together. We've got a LinkedIn page. It's not used very much. But also people are doing other things like putting on film nights where we all watch the same film all over the world together and then meet and chat. So this one is about speculation, cities, what people are doing to resist, etc. That was put on by the Rotterdam team. Drift. We've got social media. Sustainable Just Cities is the hashtag we use. Joanne Denise, if anybody knows, from Cascais, doing really nice things there. We've also got this new platform, which is part of the Communities for Future. This is only in beta mode, so if you're going on, just be gentle with it. It's still in development. We've also had a publication. It's over there. There's a little chapter about what we were doing here in Lisbon, trying to create a sustainable and just Lisbon with some of the groups. That's what it looks like, focusing on Marvila at that point, and this idea of what was like a shanty town or informal settlement, which is now near the Marvila Library. This whole green space, well, that could be a very interesting part of the city for future developments of what a more regenerative city might look like. So the community practice, we're all UrbanA. So if anybody wants to be part of this process and this movement for change, you can. Simple as that. So next point, we're going to go on to sustainable and just cities. So leaving the kind of the UrbanA side now as a project and going on to what this idea is more about. So I'm an architect and work in urban systems. I've been an activist for about 20 years. Only recently have I got into academia. So at the moment I'm doing a PhD in this. So some of this content is some of the kind of research, the investigations, and the world I'm coming from. So still very much as an activist. So looking at, in the face of climate breakdown, what is required to enable a regenerative urban transformation of modern global cities into becoming eco-cities based on the scaling up of community-led initiatives. So this work is also working with UrbanA and also EcoLease. I'll talk about EcoLease in a while. Also, it's looking at GEN, or Global Eco Village Network, and seeing how we can scale up that project to the city and what does that mean. So a few things. Thankfully, we've woken up to the fact that climate breakdown exists. There's been declarations of climate emergency, etc., etc. But I still don't think we have enough of the solutions. Point out the problem, we have to go further on the solutions. Perpetual growth is the greatest threat to humanity's well-being. This idea of infinite growth on a system of limited resources is insane. It doesn't make sense. So therefore, I'm arguing, along with many others, that the degrowth proposal is the only thing that makes sense to take us back to living within the ecological limits of planet Earth. So I'd argue that anti or post-capitalist solutions are the only things that make sense because they go against this system which needs infinite growth. A bit hard to point here, but this graph, we've got to this point. We've different ideas about where we're going in the future. The world we're coming from, permaculture, degrowth and others, is the creative descent, permaculture, where we bring things back down to living in harmony with the planet. The global eco village idea is based on deep democracy and active participation. Added this in just last night. Another reason to go on about this, years ago people were talking about peak oil. About 2 weeks ago, BP said, oh, we've passed peak oil. Pretty big news for the peak oil community. So EcoLease, this is the European network of community-led initiatives on climate change and sustainability. So it's a meta network. It's a network connecting loads of different networks like Transition Network, Permaculture, GEN, ICLAI, the local governments for sustainability, and many, many others. And as well as that, it's got a few different research groups, and FACU, the Science University in Lisbon, and Drift in Rotterdam. They're the two major research bases that are supporting this community-led process. So that's where my work fits in. As part of that, Gilles and Tom brought out recently, in 2019, the first status report of these community-led initiatives. 7 points. First one, move beyond growth. Second, nurturing commons ecologies, eco-social regeneration, solidarity economics, inclusive governance, transformative social innovation, enabling community-led action. Lisbon, it's now the European Green Capital. It's got lots of good things that are happening. It's got some bad things as well. It's still connected to green growth idea. So lots of people would challenge that. Lots of people like Fritjof Capra, like Daniel Wallace said that Sustainable Development Goal number 8 has to be rewritten because it's the spanner in the works. All the rest of the SDGs, they're not going to work, or even to go beyond that, won't work when we still have this idea of growth as this thing which is the only driver that makes sense, because it doesn't. So, the Global Eco Village Network, I'm just going to read this. So they say they want to turn every village into an eco-village and every city into a green city, whatever green city is. In order to achieve these goals, the eco-village approach needs to be dramatically scaled up without losing its core values of being locally owned participatory processes. Jennifer got over 10,000 communities around the planet doing these things. But the big question is, how do we bring that to the cities? What does that mean? So I'm arguing that this kind of structure on the left, that we need a fractal type system, which is based on a political system of communication and governance, where local communities, people who live in their communities or active in their communities, they're the ones who should be deciding about the future of their community, and that they can have representatives moving up to the next level and the next level and the next level. And we have examples of this working in many, not many, but some places around the world, which we'll talk about later. That's a sociocracy model, it's a fractal model, and it's very interesting. Also doing work on the Eco-Village Transition and Action Project. There's an example of learning from the eco-villages, what they're doing right, how they're overcoming problems, how they're breaking through the regimes and making change. So this is what I'm proposing. A municipalist eco-city network, a fractal-like network consisting of communities within communities, confederations of clusters of ecological neighborhoods where any node within the structure is both local and global at all times, communicating with each other non-hierarchically, organizing both horizontally and vertically through local assemblies where citizens co-create the cities of the future from the bottom up, where city planning becomes a community facilitation process. And here's just some examples of citizens coming together and making decisions. Looking at Lisbon City, the municipality, we've had some walks around the neighborhoods to understand. We've had one today, which is very interesting, seeing where pedestrians can go or where they can't go. This is what we learn from when we test the reality on the ground. But also the wider metropolitan area. The city is not just Lisbon municipality, it's the wider network of cities. So exploring the Coina River basin that leads up to Arabida. Jen has got two urban projects. One is Christiania in Copenhagen and the other is LA Eco Village. Both of them are extremely political spaces coming from struggles of local communities for different issues in both places. So that we can learn from them. Eco Village or Eco Barrio Sao Paulo. This group by Lara, hopefully she'll speak with us in one of our COCOs soon. This idea of that the transformation happens in the individual, in their heart, then from the house, then in the block, and then in the neighborhood in a network fashion. That's also driven by peace, because in Brazil there's lots of issues about peace and security, and they've got their DNA which works. That's a project that's coming from Gaia Education, Transition Towns, Global Eco Village Network. Now it's linked with the Sustainable Development Goals. I know you can't see it, but it's now one of the 5 municipalities and transition pilot projects, along with Telheiras up in the north of Lisbon. Barcelona and the other rebel cities of Spain since 2015 are showing when citizens start to take municipal power, they can start making the decisions for themselves. Barcelona Común have 4 characteristics. 1, distinctive political organization reflects diversity of local political landscape. 2, open and participatory decision-making processes. 3, organizational structure is relatively horizontal and guides elected representatives. 4, capacity for institutional action depends on strong organized street movements to push leaders. This all came by citizens taking to the streets and saying, we've had enough, we want absolute change. Not perfect, still work in process, but we can learn from it. Also, Rojava in Syria, during the extremely horrific civil war, multi-sided civil war there, the Kurdish communities have built an experiment based on feminism, anti-capitalism, non-sectarianism, and it works on similar process. You're organizing your street, your block, a few blocks together, and then up to your neighborhood, and then in municipality, up to the city, and into the bioregion. They call it techno. And the women are always represented as one of the 2 key people at all those levels. So we've been mapping, walking around communities again. So plenty of good things going on in Lisbon. Today we are down in Bela Flor, a very interesting project built on agroforestry, forestry and permaculture. I'm not sure how well it's connecting with the local community. Maybe some of you know better about that. But I know last time we were there, it seemed that it was still the people from outside doing all the cool stuff. But the social part could go a bit further. Secretário Segundo de Maio in Ajuda got some very interesting governance processes at the moment where they're starting to make decisions with difficult dynamics to work around, but trying to work about how to make a greener city. So they're doing very good things. Up in Marvila, this network of communities that came together, that all these different associations coming together, trying to make decisions together. What sort of future do you want? What do you want? What matters to you? It's not easy. This work is not easy, but they're doing it. And they came up with a plan saying the council's not doing enough. We're going to make our own proposal, and they've got accepted. So there's really good things happening on the ground. And again, when you're up there, just the levels of just abandoned green space, but you know, not much going on. So interesting things are happening in Lisbon. Now, so we're going to go on a little bit more now to this idea of the blended arenas. So more about how we use the tools and the culture that's come from, where it's going to, where it might go to. So we had this idea of these different events. So we're all together, and then we can have a few people from online, then we have groups outside. That's what we're going to look at, and that's what we're going to think about what we can do in the next year and the next 2 years as an experiment. Hopefully all you will be inspired and want to participate with your communities. I've been involved with this stuff from about 2002, first time getting involved with the Indie Media Network, the activist network. That was before the world of social media, where people had to fight to create tools and spaces for communities to tell their truths. Not what the mainstream media is saying, but what locals are experiencing. So we were doing loads of things. We were putting on screenings and having events and learning how to use the tools. And now that process is still going on. So that's what back then the kind of community media looked like, people telling their stories. This is a community garden. We set it up in Dublin in 2005. During the World Social Forum, connecting over radio systems with people in Kenya and Dublin and Barcelona, talking about housing. In Copenhagen in 2009, when the COP was on, the big leaders of the world going to have a discussion about things. Indigenous leaders came. We had the Climate and Justice Caravan. So Indigenous people came to the streets. We set up our own kind of forum with lots of different things. People came together in this space. We listened to each other. We had a machine up to these people as they were speaking. That went out to the radio network from the London Indie Media crew. They put it out onto radio, onto London radio, which you can tune in, but also you can tune in online. So, you know, back then we had the tools, but we weren't using them very well. We still have the tools. I don't think we're using them very well yet. As well as that process, lots and lots of different groups, the documents over there, from all over the world came together to say, the governments aren't doing enough. This is what we propose to deal with the climate crisis. And I firmly believe that was a major push to force the governments to later do the deal of the Paris Agreement. November 30th, 1999, quote from Friedrich Capra was, that was the day that the political landscape changed forever. That was the day when Indie Media came into existence, this new network communication tool. Capra talks about the fact that the two big things we need to deal with are the fact that capitalism will destroy humans because of the nature that it just is growing and eating up all our resources, but also that we are living in a network age. We've got the communication tools to engage smartly with each other. On the right-hand side, in 2011, that's when the Indignados, the Spanish Revolution happened. Steph and Tanya were there. It was a really interesting moment. But very quickly, things spread. People hear something over there, and then suddenly there's another occupation, and another, and another, and another. Manuel Castells talked about that, about the Luzi, or Margarita, you might know better the names of these guys, the rhizome revolution. Deleuze, is it? The rhizome revolution idea. Yeah, we're getting into it's just, he was referencing people who've made this idea in the 1980s about a rhizome revolution. Rhizomes go, boop, 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 they pop up everywhere. And that's what happened. Yeah. So, because that's, I think, one of the key issues and messages that we're trying to get through with this. So, this happened in 2011. And it had a structure, it had loads of working, sorry about this line that keeps on popping up. It had loads of different working groups working in different areas. I was in the communication and supporting them. Memes go, so describe it as nobody expects a Spanish Revolution. That's what Plaza Catalunya looked like. We lived there for many, many days, weeks, months. That happened. Thousands of people. Same time in Athens, in St. Tigna Square, people were rising up because of the economic hardships that people were going through. Most of our friends lost their jobs. The world I work in, architects, was up to 90% unemployment. When we left Barcelona, the youth unemployment was between 60 and 70%. People were jumping out of windows because they were being evicted. There's a whole lot of really hardcore issues going on. But the response is what has led to the political system, which is now in place in Barcelona and other cities. This is what I want to show you. This is an idea of from peer to peer to square to square. That's Barcelona Square, all those people down there, and up top people in Greece, talking to each other, the square, talking to the other square, making connections. So that I think if we can build on that through our networks in a global community of urbanists and community activists, we can really start engaging and changing the game. And we need to, because of climate breakdown and the emergency. This is what Ecolese does. They're the ones who are really developing these tools, especially thanks to NANAD in Croatia. So people were there at the AGM, people were online, but together we were making decisions about the future of the network and what we're doing. So we've taken that to UrbanA. Ecolese is one of the partners in UrbanA. So in our first event online, in Rotterdam, we had the Rotterdam people as well as the people tuning in. And together, it was a very nice experience. It was intense. Then we've got the Coco. So this is what it looks like, you know, another Zoom call. People are there. Oh, it looks like people are talking about a heavy situation there. That's probably when the Lisbon group are talking about the housing situation in the city at the moment. So with UrbanA, we've connected with some other city groups, the Urban Futures Global Conference about sustainable cities. They were supposed to be having their event here last April. We engaged them saying that, you know, sustainability is important, but we also need to deal with the social side. They were very open to our suggestions. We are co-creating walks in Marvila, connecting with local activists and all this. Unfortunately, it all went because of COVID. Part of all this tool to blend it is, you know, COVID might be here forever, or who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But the thing is, we could all sit back or say, oh, we'll just leave everything, you know, because of COVID. No, I think we've got a challenge that we need to rise up to respond to, and this is part of how we do that. So they're going to be in Rotterdam next year. Other groups like Drift and others are there. We're talking with them. So if people want to be engaged and really opening this up, get involved. EcoCity Forum and EcoCity Builders have their talk every 2 years. This happened in 2 weeks or 1 month ago in Lahti in Finland, which is going to be next year's Green City. They also engage with this process of a digital space. They use Verbella, but it was this, you know, avatars, those old computer games where you could walk around and meet people. It was kind of like that. It was a bit weird, and I couldn't get in with my tools, which I had. So issues of accessibility are very important. This is what it looked like. You know, it's a really cool tool, and it's got great things. And this is where people from Egypt talking about the realities in Egypt at the moment. People are there talking. You can chat to people as you want. And, you know, it's like a normal conference, a bit more conferencey, whereas what we try to do is more engagement. As well as that, as part of their event, they connect with groups in Bangladesh. So we tuned into Bangladesh, participated in their events. Very interesting things going on. Olha, me dio Umundu Festival. Muito obrigado, Umundu, não? Por essa oportunidade para falar com vocês e vocês também, vocês online. So maybe next year, when we have this blended event in Berlin with UrbanA, we might have people meeting in UrbanA, but we might have also people coming together again. Maybe you might join us to come together in Lisbon, and we might have people in Rotterdam, and maybe people in Dhaka in Bangladesh. And maybe we can push the limits as we communicate together as a community. So, okay. So how are we doing? Oh, I think we're doing okay. Okay, so we're going to have open discussion time, and now it's time for discussions. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Oops, just see if that worked. Okay, so Mario, can you give us an update about how things are going online? Is there any questions? Are people still there? Okay, okay. So if people could open their cameras, because you're now appearing on the screen up above. if people want to open their cameras and okay, if you're there. So points if you want to make. So I'll ask if people could try to keep it like concrete and specific. So we might take maybe 2 questions from the online and then go back to the physical world. Okay. So does anybody have a question? If you want to raise your hand or type H in the chat, that'll show us that you want to speak. We have all these processes that we try to use. Yes. So from Pedro Martins. Pedro, would you like to open your screen? If we could see you, it would make it a lot easier. If you don't, it's no problem. Okay. So we can open. So Pedro, are you there? Hello, Pedro. No.
I'm here.
Okay. Hello, Pedro.
Hello.
Very nice. Thank you for joining us. Firstly, so
I do not have a camera. Sorry, I don't have a camera in this computer. Sorry.
That's no problem. That's no problem. So, would you like to tell us where you are, or if you're involved in a group, and then tell us a question or a comment?
I'm in Lisbon, and I'm really interested in all these kind of issues. In fact, I'm in this moment looking at the project of HabitaRegen in Abrigada, which I would like very much. I want to go there, so, and I'm trying to go to meetings and learn from people from wherever. And it seemed interesting to me to hear this talk.
Very good. And would you like to just tell us what HabitaRegen is for the people who don't know?
HabitaRegen is a cooperative. It's not yet working, but it's a territory up north 60 kilometers from Lisbon. And it's going to be a community for regenerative, where we want to implement regenerative cultures.
Very good, very good. So, so Mario, who's here, he's part of the technical team. Mario is a big part of that regen project. Did everybody hear okay? Is there anybody who's involved in this project, HabitaRegen? Anybody who wants to be? No. Yeah, it's a beautiful project and it's a beautiful place. And maybe Mario, you might, or maybe we'll get one question more and then we can return. So maybe Diego, would you like to say hello? So I'm gonna Pedro, I'm gonna turn off your mute. So Diego, would you like to introduce yourself and ask us a question or tell us why you're here?
Okay, hello everybody. I living in Brazil. Sorry for don't start with UrbanA, but I like to. I am to pretend to working with UrbanA because my PhD, when like writing in my chat, is about the what factors that have the characteristic the urban living labs can be configured to potential sustainability transition. This is the project of the PhD. It's important to know about the another arenas like what is his name? Sorry, your name. Yes. Please, unmute the. I don't listen. I don't know.
My name is Duncan.
Duncan, sorry, Duncan.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
My name is Duncan.
Duncan, okay, sorry. You're writing me in Twitter. Okay, sorry. It's very important to me about the project about the UrbanA because here in the southern of Brazil, when I live in, well, I live in the beach. Sorry for, I live in the nice place of Brazil, in Santa Catarina. I am the director of the strategic planning university in the region. I need to develop the opportunity to create a sustainable city. Well, I have three cities. I don't know you acknowledge Itajaí, Balneario Camboriú, and Itapema. These three cities is the biggest growing in the region. And I need to understand or create parameters, or create a political to develop in the sustainable city, the three cities, because the city in this moment, I have the suffers is failing with the political development. Okay, I understand
Diego,
that.
sorry, if you can just give us a concise, so algo breve sobre o projeto de você ou o que você acha sobre a apresentação de nosso trabalho aqui, ou se tem
sorry, no. Por eso quería falar, disculpa. The presentation for us is, for me, it's a feedback for the city. Do you understand me? Is the first input for me, okay? This is the first input for try to develop is a new political for the city, okay? Policy for the city. That's it.
So, well, I hope, did you hear us okay here? Because we had some technical problems. Okay, the slides will be available as well. So I went through them very quickly. Okay. So, well, maybe we'll go now to the people here. We'll see if there's any questions from the people here. So another technical point here. So just give me a moment because we need to sort this. So Tanya, so hopefully with the rules, the COVID, so Tanya is going to become the video recording person. So, so has anybody got a question or a comment? Tanya's going to come over soon. Need to, okay. Not easy on this there. So I need to turn off because we get feedback. So if anybody, hello. So if anybody's any questions, so maybe we could take 2 or 3 questions or comments. Anybody has?
No.
Others have? Great. So if you want to go over.
Like really...
So okay. No. Okay. No. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay.
So Tanya will go over.
Okay.
So who's got questions?
Okay.
Hello. Thanks for the presentation. That was really interesting. The thing that I wanted to ask you about was, you mentioned a lot of international collaboration as well. How do you facilitate that? Sorry, this is very much like a question. How do you facilitate that? What are you looking for when you do have international collaborations? What are the aspects, what are you expecting to do in terms of, I guess, resource sharing? I mean, I know you mentioned that, you have certain resources available on the website, but is there any sort of other way to, perhaps mentor people, or, how does that sort of communication happen across all of these groups and stuff? Does that make sense?
Okay. So, okay. So can I ask people online if you heard us okay? Did you hear that question? If you can type like yes or thumbs up to give us feedback. Yes. Okay. So people online heard the question. Okay. So I'll proceed and try to respond. So about international collaboration. So the thing is with collaborating as who or as whom? No. Am I collaborating as UrbanA? Am I collaborating as Duncan? Am I collaborating as part of EcoLease? It's at different levels. So, like for example, tomorrow we're doing an event which is not part of UrbanA or EcoLease. It's with the indigenous communities of Latin America because we're friends with people from Brazil. We spent time in their community in Brazil, and with other people in Peru, and we want to hear their voices, and we want to try to get people here, the climate activists here, the Fridays for Future, the Greve de Mata Estudantil. We want to try to make a bridge between these communities and to see, can these amazing young people in Lisbon and Portugal, can they understand what's going on there? And actually, can they do anything that can help the people over there from getting killed, massacred, their territories burnt down by a fascist government? Is there means to stop this? Of course there is, but we need to get connected and listen to each other and build up networks of understanding and resistance. So that's just one example. If it's true UrbanA, even though UrbanA is a European focused project and we look at what's going on in Europe and we look at solutions, so we're really looking, like now for example, we're looking at governance, and it's all governance solutions and from different projects in Europe. But the community practice, what I put a lot of my time into, we're going beyond that. So we're reaching out to people from hopefully Leeds to hear about the permaculture project there, in Sao Paulo from Lara, connecting with Bangladesh, trying to connect with people from Rojava, because they've got ideas and experiences that are perhaps of more value than other people in Europe. Like we're doing great things here, but what's going on over there in some of those situations are, in my personal view, are more interesting in terms of what I'm interested in, which is trying to see how we can scale up this global eco-village to our cities, because I think what they're touching on is part of the key. It's starting to unlock that system. At other levels, that's the Kingdom Born document. So so that. So you can see that's from 2009. So that Claim of Forward document was from 2009, and the back has the list of the different groups who participated in the construction of that document. And like all of these shared processes, it's groups coming together who maybe speak 30 different languages, who have to deal with that barrier. They have to make consensus decisions about what goes in, what's enough, what's not. It's not easy, no? When we've got these events happening, like Claim the 2009 in the streets as an activist, that was about being there and listening and helping the people with the language, that was my little part, who to give testimony, saying, well, this is this mining company, which is helping your economy grow, is killing all our family. And there's other communities saying, oh, well, this group that have paper production, they're polluting all the waters, and when we go to eat now, we die of these weird illnesses thanks to your need for growth. So that's just a few very random different examples. And with EcoLease, because EcoLease is many different networks, like Gen is global. There's many networks that are already global and are like their European part is part of the EcoLease network. And that little video I showed of the Communities for Future, like that's a direct response to Fridays for Future. Like the school kids with Greta and everything has been amazing. 2019 was a game changer. It has brought the reality of the climate emergency to the wider public. They've now acknowledged that we have a problem. So what we've done is we've tried to build on that. So from Fridays to Future to Communities for Future, and looking at the solutions that are already there, because a lot of these solutions happen in the margins of society. The eco village up in the hills, up in the Pyrenees, nobody hears about because it's the freaky hippies. Maybe they've got lessons for us and our problems here. So, okay. Any other questions, comments? We've got our, no, we don't. We have a tech problem. Okay. Okay, so something has happened here. It's flipped. No, because we need this. Okay. Maybe you can kind of break that. Okay, we've lost. Okay, sorry people, we had a technical problem again. So I can turn this. No, leave it. Okay, if anybody's a question, maybe you could come up and say it here because that's going to be easier to help our friends online. There was a few more hands. No? Anybody? Audience? Hands? Here we have a question. Do you want to come up so that these people can hear you? You can take. I'll move over here to the side. So if you want to take your mask down, or you should see yourself, we should see us soon.
Now I'm very used to the mask.
Okay.
Okay. Just a small comment. Thank you so much, Duncan, for your inspiring presentation. It's not a small thing because we were living in Barcelona for that time, those fantastic times in 2011, 2010, started already with major manifestation. And just a small comment, because it's not a small thing, all the work that all the communities and people like you are doing, because at the end, guys in Barcelona show that it's possible. It was not the goal to arrive to the government, but now there is a party. There was in Greece before, and now there is a party in the government in Spain that arrived, that came from these movements, grassroots and social movements. So this is not a small thing.
Any other comments, questions? I'd like to try to open up between us as well, which is difficult because of limitations. No, because it's an online. But if you want to say something in Portuguese, you can translate. There was a question, can we speak in Portuguese? So we can. Se quer falar em português? I think everybody speaks Portuguese, but this is going to be recorded for people who don't speak Portuguese. So.
Yeah. I think with the experience con la experiencia en Barcelona sobre el 14M en Barcelona, experimentamos uma grande, o que Duncan falou hoje, sobre começar com nós, começar nossos vizinhos, começar a cidade, a comunidade e depois o país. Foi uma experiência incrível, realmente a nível de todos os níveis, porque mudou totalmente a minha percepção.
So Tanya's just saying that, yeah, talking about those experiences in Barcelona was an amazing experience, and from yourself and the experiences, and then with your wider people at the next levels up, and it was a tremendous experience.
Para mim foi como uma lavagem cerebral, espiritual em todos os níveis, e percebi de que a comunidade reforçou-se de uma maneira incrível, que até agora temos as conexões desse momento até agora como se fôssemos família.
So it was a truly transformative process. It was a very spiritual moment, and we made such strong communities and connections with these other people through this process that we still are deeply connected with these people who are now in other parts of the world.
E apesar de que teve o desemprego, surgiu ideias fantásticas a partir dessa crise forte. Surgiu centros sociais que começaram a criar prédios com trabalhos de bancos do tempo, advogados, médicos.
So because of this crisis, because of unemployment, it actually allowed for great things to emerge. So like time banks, where there was doctors and lawyers even participating, and many other things.
Yeah. Todas essas profissões trabalhando juntos, e acho que ninguém passou fome. Um ajudou o outro, conseguiram criar alternativas que agora atualmente funcionam em Barcelona. Começou por obra social, agora tem muitas, não é como Camasdeu, tem ainda muitas mais do que isso.
So talking about some of the social centres that were built, like Audio Social, which had events going on up on the roof, and these different people coming together and putting solutions so that people weren't going hungry, and others like Camasteo and many other projects and social spaces.
Atualmente, a alcaldesa de Barcelona é alguém que nasceu no movimento também, era uma advogada que protegia os despejados das casas, da imobiliária, da máfia hipotecária, e ela faz muitos trabalhos sociais atualmente, e então eu acredito que é possível a partir desta visão.
So in finishing up that, so the woman who's now the mayoress of Barcelona, the first woman mayor in 2000 years, Ada Colau, she came from these movements. She was part of PA, the group that was resisting the evictions, of those being affected by the mortgage, couldn't pay their mortgage, and the bank saying kick them out. So the transformation is there, and it gives Tanya the spirit that it's possible to make these changes. More or less. Mais ou menos, né? Desculpa. Okay, so any other questions, comments? Is there anybody, by the way, from Fridays for Future or Grevik Studentil or Grevik Knapke? No? Yeah?
Hello, everybody. I'm from Ecuador. I'm Veronica, and I would like to ask in this context, and we know about climate change and everything, but how you are linking with colonialism, for example. I think it's very important also to talk about all the time, like in relation, because it's not possible to talk about the justice citizens if you are not talking about colonialism or, for example, also patriarchy. So I would like to know if you are also putting this point of view in this project.
Muchas gracias, muy bien por la presencia de gente, más gente de Ecuador y los Andes y comunidades dos mujeres fuertes. No? So it's great that there's people from Ecuador here sharing their views today. Totally agree. For myself, I'd say yes, that the solutions that we're building, creating sustainable and just communities, have to be feminist. They have to be have a post-colonial viewpoint, because justice is a response about identifying the systems of injustice and removing them. And that's hard because we're seeing a polarized world. I'm from Ireland. Our little island is still occupied, for example. We war until 20 years ago. That could return because of Brexit. So it's not so far away. It's not something that just happens over there. It could be back here quite soon. In UrbanA specifically, we try to have a diverse group participating. We try to bring in these things. In the last arena in Barcelona, that's the Barcelona Urban Environmental Justice Group. So they work in Barcelona, but there's people who are doing work in Latin America, in other parts of the world, in academic research. They're in the group, the academic block ICTA, I forget exactly a science block in Barcelona. That's one of the major points of degrowth movement as well. The Hans here from Degrowth in Lisbon. So during our Urban Arenas discussion, the last open event was very Degrowth themed, and it brought in issues about those. So you can watch the videos and stuff like that. We're trying to enable a greater discussion and bring in people. Some of the examples I shared, like Rojava, is dealing with these issues. I'd like for us to learn more and to listen to what people are saying. So like the event tomorrow isn't going to be an UrbanA event. For me, it is an UrbanA event, but that's just me because, you know, we're responding in a global network fashion, or we need to. So while we make our cities right, we have to understand the interconnectivity of everything, of why you buy something that actually affects somebody from a mining company over there. And once we start making those connections, then comes the work of opening it up and making people aware, and then looking at the solutions. And at the solutions, it's not easy, but there's, I think, again, because of the Fridays for Future, that it's massive. Like they have made a really strong point of trying to open up these levels of understanding. The event Friday before last, the last Greve Climatica, the climate strike, its kind of hashtag was fight climate injustice, and giving space to understand what's going on, especially in Latin America, especially in Brazil, in parts of Africa, and trying to make those connections. We've tried to reach out to the communities here. We've tried to invite people to come and to diversify our discussions. It's not easy because people are organizing strikes and they've got a whole lot of other things going on. So yeah, maybe other people have views on this. It'd be better if it's a more fluid process. Do online people have responses or views or opinions on some of those questions that they'd like to respond to? I'm seeing some chat. Okay. Thank you for your presence, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so any questions or comments online from our online community? Again, just give us a hand up or a chat note. I don't see anything, so I'm presuming that you're not. Or maybe, so we've 15 minutes, so it's the last quarter. Or maybe, I'm wondering, will one of the Umundu special celebrity team come and say a few words? Because I'd like to hear a little bit about what you guys are trying to do and how you're affecting those, or dealing with these issues, and also with your other hat through degrowth and other things. Would you like to help us move forward?
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for bringing this up. Duncan, it was a very interesting talk in your presentation. Actually, you touched very many of the reasons why we're doing this festival, yeah? Not this time, it will not be so festive, not so much music and partying. That should be part of this tour. We have to be together, not only in these discussions and talking about very serious things, we have to party together as well. But this will not be possible this time. I hope it will be possible next year. But I think that what really was the motivation to bring this up is that this question of climate change and climate catastrophe, and that we cannot close our eyes anymore to this. Yes, and we were able in the global north, of the elites of the global south, that were able to live above our means, if you want so, and most of the world population will actually suffer from this. Yeah, so it's a very much a question of justice as well. So we thought that we have to do something about it, and the idea actually was to bring all these initiatives that actually exist in Lisbon, bring it together to get some momentum into this movement, because all these initiatives do very interesting things, very small things sometimes, but very interesting things, but they are not visible for the greater public. And I think that was one of the ideas that we organized Umundu. Umundu was born actually in Germany in 2009 in Dresden, and then already in the 12th edition there. And then one of the co-founders of Umundu in Dresden moved back to Lisbon, and so he spread the idea here in Lisbon that we could do something similar, and that is what we are doing right now. And actually, thank you very much. Thank you to Duncan, to UrbanA, and to all the other initiatives that really participate in this. And I hope we get this momentum to move forward and to really create an impact in the city. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Hans. You couldn't see, but over there people were shaking their hands in agreement. Yeah, it's a pity that COVID, we haven't got all this ability to socialize, and from the regenerative communities that we're working in, like in permaculture and transition, celebration is a huge part of it. And in fact, with the Communities for Future, the CFF, they're now launching the next 3 months. Every month there'll be an event. And the first event, the theme is celebration. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's a 2-hour get together between all these movements, but we can take that in. And also tomorrow night up in Albita, up in Monsanto, there's going to be people playing a bit of music from Latin America, maybe a few panpipes, after we hear our friends from Brazil and Peru and hear about, so, you know, we can still have little moments of coming together. But it's a very important point, because if it's all serious, see, muito chato, né? It's the people don't want to get involved, especially the young people. I always give the example of the community gardens we're involved with. In Barcelona, up in Gracia, with a community garden, or Comunitari de Gracia, you know? And people will be passing this, you know, busy their normal life. And what are these crazy people doing in this garden? What's going on? They're passing and they're intrigued, and they look in and they see kids watering plants with such big smiles, and 200 people eating food together, and people dancing and playing music, living. And those people, they're looking and they're going, I want to be that. They overcome that barrier, and they cross the threshold, and they go into the garden. They say, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but can I join in? Yeah, come on, join the party. And I think that's a big part of the challenge to us, because still our world of social movements, of justice, of all these things, it's so necessary and so important. But how we go about it, it's a bit, no? So I'm definitely backing up Hans here. We do need to make it celebrational, and that should be really the driving force. To, as Gandhi said, now you have to be the change. So don't just moan about stuff. Build the alternative that is so exciting and appealing that people want to come. So we don't even have to ask people to come. They're going, you know. So it's a lot of food for thought. Maybe other people have questions or viewpoints on that. We have the last few minutes. Any online people? Do you party to make change? If so, how do we do it? Here in Global North, we're a little bit, sometimes. No? Any responses? No? Or maybe could hear a few words from Mario, a very important person who likes to celebrate. Maybe you could go speak online and we can try to hear you.
Sure. Hey, you hear me?
Yeah. Do you want to open your camera?
Yeah. Okay. Not sure what I'm gonna say, but hey, everybody. Yeah, for me, there's a part of a large movement that's about regenerating both cities and rural spaces, and creating opportunities for governance at the bioregional scale, which means sort of the creating the boundaries that nature would have created. If we would make decisions at that level, it means quite a bit that we can begin to conform or begin to integrate ourselves back into natural systems. So that's the idea behind a lot of the work that I do, and looking at whole systems and looking at how we can turn all the fragments that we see in our cities into fractals, something that Duncan mentioned. But the idea that we can create whole places, not things that are just separated off, or not even a really great idea that's implemented in one place and then just goes away because it didn't have traction or didn't have the involvement. It didn't come from the bottom up. So the idea that we can create places that are so integrated that they can't go away, and that they can only bring out sort of like the sort of the freest, the most beautiful expressions of everybody's essence, and people can contribute completely who they are to the process of regenerating our places. So that's my 2 cents.
Could you explain a little bit more about HabitaRegen and HabitaRegen?
Yeah. So we're trying to practice this kind of philosophy and principles and ideas about regenerative development. Maybe 40 minutes north of here in Brigada. It's 46 hectares, a wonderful community in the making. There's so many people interested in being part of it. There may be something like 100 housing units, tons of agroforestry, tons of growing food, different kinds of regenerative enterprises. And it's all coming together now of how we, our main purpose is to regenerate ourselves, and regenerate the soil, and regenerate the capacity, not only of the community inside. Many eco-villages or many communities of this type over the last decades have been about creating an amazing space inside, but it becomes a bubble. It becomes and we're very interested in activating the larger bioregion, the area all around us, and really integrating with producers in the area, really integrating into changing the dynamics of the economy in the area, so that we're producing enough basic needs collectively for everybody who lives there. So food and fiber and fuel and everything, all the basic materials that we might need. And so that's what we're trying to inspire in the larger area. That's what we want to model inside, and once again keep these connections live between what we're doing inside and what's going on outside, or we're trying to generate outside. There's all kinds of talk about using a local currency or an online currency like seeds, for instance, to generate these kind of relationships. All kinds of wonderful ways to integrate what the region has to offer and what we can do to repair the land, to begin healing ourselves, and to become whole again. So it's it's more than aspiration. It's actually happening, and so we're very excited. We're doing everything legally, which is also something most eco-villages haven't done or don't do in the past. We're going to hopefully make a big impact on how structures are built, and sort of break open that path of being able to do all kinds of constructions with different natural materials and things throughout Portugal. And so that's one big sort of enterprise that we're going to take the lead on there.
So if people want to go, when can they
go? Right now there's a Facebook site. We have the next open day on the 17th, which is a Saturday. You can look up HabitaRegen. You can look up that on Facebook. Maybe Duncan can post the link. And yeah, welcome to come out and check it out. And we're looking for more wonderful people to become part of this co-creation. Thanks.
So,
thank you very much, Mario. It's so brilliant when we hear that people are doing things, they're actually building the alternatives, they're creating these new utopian projects. They're trying to anyway. If we can inspire more people to get involved and do likewise, that's a big part of it. So we've got 2 more minutes. We're going to finish up. And by the way, this is going to over the Zoom call, so people are watching, but it's also going to on YouTube as well, live stream through HabitaRegen's YouTube channel. So they're super helpful, great techie people as well, and assisting in this change. So in finishing up, don't know if anyone's any burning questions or points. No? Okay. So I think it's time to finish up, maybe with a beer, maybe a little celebration. Mightn't be too much dancing tonight, but hopefully soon, no? So I'd like to thank all of you who come tonight, everybody who's tuning in online, or people are watching on the YouTube as well, and people who are already part of this movement of change in whatever way, from the smallest little thing to the biggest thing, it all helps. Taking that first step, that's such a big part of it. So I hope it's been helpful. I hope the presentation was okay. It was a little bit rushed. There was a lot there. You can see the slides later with the links. So if you want to find out stuff, we're available. If people want to, the people here anyway, if you want to get in contact, there's UrbanA's email and all that. So in terms of thank you, I'd like to say thank you very much to Umundu, to Ler Devagar, and to all the people that are supporting. And I hope that we can continue this adventure. That's what it is. It's an adventure where you get to meet amazing people. You get to end up in some strange situations. You get to learn a lot. You've got sad moments, but you've got very happy moments as well. And I think by going down this road at the end of days, when it comes to kind of signing off and leaving, you'll kind of go, wow, that was a full life. And I think that's what matters, trying to find that, you know? So yeah, so we'll see you here again, hopefully, when the next UrbanA events are on. Hopefully this Umundu festival can help and really turn into a major node or cluster of total system change. Yeah? Okay. So thank you very much. And I'm finishing up because people at home couldn't see it. We brought this as well to remember the people who aren't here with us tonight. Going back to the points from Ecuador, our friends in the Andes who are being driven out of their communities in Brazil. Lands have been burnt down for our needs here. But hopefully we can start to really lift the game and respond. So that's just a reminder, because these indigenous communities, especially in Latin America, I think we in the climate justice movement, we get our lead from them, and we can respond. And I think we have a great challenge to do that. So yeah, so viva la Pachamama. Obrigado a todos. Boa noite. Ciao. We're going to log off now, everybody. So bye. Thank you very much for your presence. Ending.